what is already happening, and there's a lot already happening in the United States, but also to look forward and think about what goals should we put forward for the future, and how do we get there. I should introduce myself. I'm Barb Bryant. I'm a member of the New England Orienteering Club, Cambridge Sports Union, and Navigation Games. I am also on the board of OUSA, and I am quite recently named to be the Vice President of Youth Initiatives. So that's the perspective from which I'm speaking today. So in looking forward, I have in really big letters on this slide the word goals, because something I am hoping for us to coalesce around in the next few months is, what do we really want to accomplish? What does OUSA want to create around youth? The board is very strongly in favor of growing orienteering, increasing the number of people in the United States who orienteer, and we also believe that doing that through youth programs is a really good approach. But what exactly does that mean? Like, what is our ultimate goal? Can we come up with numerical goals for ourselves, and then sort of, which would be like an outcome goal? What do we want to see? How many kids orienteering by when? But also, how do we get there? And that's more the process goals. I learned about outcome goals and process goals, by the way, from Aaron Schur, our orienteering youth coach. So I'm imitating him. And then how are we going to measure that? Because having goals is great, but how are we going to measure our progress towards that? And what is our plan for getting there? And who's going to do it? So all of those things are things that I'm hoping will work out. As we hear about what's already happening today and think about what we could do, I wanted to keep in mind some of the questions and ideas that I have. So first of all, when I talk to people about what they want, they have different ideas about what our goals should be. I usually find that there is some commonality, but there are often some differences, and I think it's important to take stock of that and acknowledge it. So for example, maybe there are people who think we don't need to grow. They're just happy with how their clubs are working right now, and it's fine. So there's growth versus, is that really important? There are some people who feel that outreach to youth might not be so valuable because you can do all these things for kids, but then they never come to events. So it's important to be aware that we might not all be in agreement, and to talk about what we really do see as our goals, and see where we do agree, or where we can support each other's goals, even if that's not our own primary goal. I think it's really important to support the existing efforts, identify things that work, and build on them. But there are a lot of different things that are currently in place and are currently working. Are we going to, pursue them all? I think that might be worth it, but can we provide some kind of consistent framework for that, so that there's more synergy? So I'm not sure how to think about that yet. There's a lot of places to start. We're going to hear about those today. We need people to take this on. So we can talk all we want about what we want to see happen, but if there isn't a champion, if there isn't a person who's taking it on, it's not going to happen. We need not only leaders and champions, but also the people who are going to say, I'm going to help you with that. You can't have a single person doing it all on their own. And then we need people who are just talking it up. Maybe they're not doing a lot of the work, but every time they have an interaction with another human being, they're looking for an opening to talk about orienteering and what's happening. And that awareness raising makes a big difference. I think we need to explore collaborating with other organizations, other sports organizations, other youth organizations, umbrella organizations, the Olympic Committee in the United States, the International Orienteering Federation, and we need to think about funding, because all of these efforts are going to cost. Great. So I wanted to do a little exercise. I thought maybe I would do some research ahead of time and come up with estimates for how many kids are currently orienteering, but I don't have those numbers. So I just want to do a little group exercise, and let's go through these different categories and make a guess about how many kids are involved in each one. So how many kids do you think are currently showing up in the national rankings list for having orienteered? I mean, I looked at it recently.
10, 20.
100?
No.
50.
Oh, wow. 50?
30.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking white, yellow, orange, green, red, blue. So I hear from 10 to...
And are you counting kids with 4 rankings or just the ones on the
No,
rankings?
anyone who's been at a meet.
Like 100?
Maybe
that's
on the
more, yeah.
list.
Maybe 100.
Then 100, yeah.
That's
Okay,
probably a couple
so-
hundred. I mean, how many go to the IS every year?
100 to 200.
If I go into the IS, they're on the
But I think
list.
that OUSA members have a ranking.
Well, technically, but they're on the ranking anyway because no one's tracking that. We have no way of tracking
I
it
see.
without
Great,
it.
let's talk about JROTC. How many JROTC kids orienteer? Different
2,000.
kids? 2,000?
At the, are you talking about
At all.
nationally ranked or just completely?
At all? In the US? Couple
Sounds-
thousand?
Yeah, 1,000.
Thousands, yeah. Couple thousand.
Okay,
I'd say 800.
okay. And how many kids competed in last year's interscholastics and intercollegiate championships?
200?
I know that's a
100.
subset.
About between 100 and 200.
150 to 200.
Yeah.
Okay. Scouts, how many scouts orienteer?
10,000.
Like how many
Fine,
have
yeah,
done?
that's part of the question.
Well,
How many scouts have ever orienteered, or how many scouts?
Or in any given year, how many
Basically,
show up to it?
Or
they need
annually,
to
how
do
many
one
scouts come?
orienteering course, so almost
Yeah.
everyone did something, but
Great, so let's ask how many children in the United States who are scouts have ever orienteered?
Oh,
How many scouts are there in the United States? Girls, boys?
10 million?
well, only the Boy Scouts have a requirement for it.
Uh-huh.
Right, Girl Scouts, yeah, most Girl Scouts, the answer is they haven't.
A couple million Boy Scouts in the country?
Yeah, I think something like that. Maybe 10% of them have orienteered.
And are we including things like American Heritage Girls and Frontier Scouts and all these
Membership
other
of
scout
Boy Scouts
organizations that are not
is
VSA?
2,700,000.
Okay, so I think we could potentially say that between 10,000 and a million scouts have orienteered,
Okay.
which is
Narrowing it down a
potentially
bit.
quite a large number. Local club events, so a few thousand kids.
1,000.
1,000. And then in schools, our school programs. So I went to a convention for Massachusetts PE educators earlier this week and talked to 2 teachers who told me, volunteered the information that they teach orienteering in their classes, but NEOC doesn't know about them, you know. So all I'm saying is there might be some teachers who are teaching orienteering that we don't know about. How many kids might get it through that?
I
Guy?
think in Virginia we have 2 or 3 schools that they have orienteering program.
Yeah.
I ran
Schools is
into a
probably-
teacher in South Dakota that was teaching orienteering.
Okay, so
It's thousands more.
Thousands, it's thousands, yeah. Yeah, I
And
just
then,
thought it was so they did
I don't know.
some teacher did it and it was
Fort
bad,
Union
so
is
they
the
called it.
only one that has a school orienteering
There's
program.
another one,
But there's a lot of kids in every
Stand
school.
tracking.
but is that?
Fort Union has a school orienteering program?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, great. So I think what we're seeing is there are a lot of ways in which kids get introduced into orienteering in the USA, and potentially there are quite a few kids who get introduced into orienteering in the USA. It might be nice, orienteering. It might be nice to try and quantitate that and then make a goal around expanding that number and seeing if we can get to it. Yeah. Okay, we started a survey on youth programs in the United States. So I have here a link to the survey. It's just a Google form, and then this is how we're currently presenting the results. This is not live, but you can go to the live thing. I wonder if I dare do that. Basically, you can look kind of look at each program by state, by type of program, and just check it out. And so I'm hoping that over time this might grow into a resource so that if you're interested in building a program, you could see what other people have done and maybe contact them, get some information. We do collect information about, are you willing to share, what materials might you have. So maybe this is like a starting point for building up a database of what youth orienteering is happening in the United States. This is just, we've gotten 34 responses so far, most of which are from the United States. I put in some information about Canada. Anybody can put in anything, so And then we're looking at different types of programs, school programs, Scouts, JROTC, and so on. This is kind of interesting. These are the ages that are targeted by these programs, and it's this nice progression where more and more kids and older ages are targeted by these programs, which is kind of interesting. I personally am really interested in starting earlier.
It should be the other way around.
Kids,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just interesting to see
Wait,
what we have.
wait, just a minute. So this is where we are emphasizing, who's a survey of whom?
Yeah, so this is a survey of any orienteering program in the United States. So there's some JROTC in there, Scouts,
Okay,
anything Wilds in there.
okay. Yeah, okay. So is this where it's delivered or whether you're targeting? Because there's a big difference.
Yeah, I think the language of the survey was targeted.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
So just to finish up my introduction, what we're going to do today is we're going to hear about a lot of different kinds of programs. We're going to hear about activities that are available at club meets. We're going to hear about an OUSA program for getting patches for different levels of skill. We're going to hear about JROTC, Scouts, PE classes, and so on. So I think it's important to really look at what works really well from what we have and what people we have and what ideas we have, and get a really good feeling for what exists, and then think about where we want to go. So this is a little bit outdated, but you have the paper listing what we're going to do. So our next speaker is Greg Osweed, and he'll talk about the Junior National Program.
Barb, I have a quick question.
Let's talk.
What do you think is a feasible goal for OUSA in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I had been thinking about proposing a goal of increasing the number of kids orienteering tenfold in the next 3 years. But that was before we had our little count and realized that there are already millions of kids orienteering. So I think I might, so I don't know, I think I still like the idea of increasing manyfold the number of orienteers that OUSA is working with, the number of youth orienteers that OUSA and member clubs are working with. But we'll talk more about that, I think, over the next few sessions.
Great. Thanks, Barb.
Yep.